Hi, everyone. I'm Angela. This is my husband, Dan Clark.
Right.
In this world, it's so tempting and so easy to just be mad at the world because it's not going exactly as we see fit, as we think it ought to be going, and people acting in the way that we feel that they should be acting. And we can get kind of sour and resentful inside of ourselves. And boy, I didn't want to do this video talking about this specific topic tonight. I just wanted to avoid it, and it just kept coming up. And so here I am. I've got to do this. I've got to do it. It helps me too. But when you are growing up in an oppressive type religion, which Dan and I both did, maybe you can totally relate to this. You tend to always be taught that the world is bad out there. And again, it sours us. And so then we end up feeling like even the universe is against us, which would be God and nature and the angels. And there's really nothing. For some reason, we kind of connect it all together and we don't feel like we have support. We feel very unsupported. Would you agree
Yep, I
with
agree.
that, Dan?
Yeah.
And
Waiting for the world to end and we're told everything out there is bad. So, it's really kind of a depressing place to be in.
it really is. So what I found and what Dan's found is that we really do need to change our mind about this, because if we're going to function in the world in the right kind of way, and if we're going to be what we're here on this earth to do and to be, and that creativity and who we're meant to be on this earth, it's not going to get done with these negative kind of feelings of resentment and rage and anger towards the
Judgment.
government, towards the world, towards the people in the world who you see as not doing right. Because in the churches, in the cults, they teach you like everyone out there is bad. See, so you tend to naturally see everybody like that. It's like a dysfunction, okay? So I'm trying to help all of us. I'm a women empowerment coach, helping women, and I help men too. And Dan's on this video with me to kind of see these dysfunctions that we do. This is one of them, this thinking that everything outside of us is bad and separate from us. So, they're not like us, or, we're somehow connected to them, which we are. They've proven this in science. You can't get around it now. They've absolutely proven it. So we have to see our brother as ourselves. It says in the Bible even to love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Right.
So we have to learn how to love them, which is loving ourselves. So I want to tell you, there's a guy that influenced Dan and I, Dan especially a lot, was a man named Dr. David R. Hawkins. He wrote Power versus Force, Transcending Levels of Consciousness, the I, capital I of the EYEI, and all kinds of other
Lots
wonderful,
more.
lots of
Emotional non-duality,
duality.
Transcending levels of consciousness,
Power versus
truth
Force. We
versus
said that right.
falsehood.
Yeah, really great books that really help you. So I wanted to show you this little map of consciousness. Okay, so down here in this area, I think it's the yellow area. Yeah. Where's the 200? Yeah, there it is right there. So this right at this yellow line here, everything below the yellow line is got a negative magnetization type field to it. So when you're living in this lower area here, I'll tell you what the words say on it, okay? But at the level of 200, it finally says courage. You can see that. And everything, and you've got forgiveness and things like that over on the other side. But then up here it really gets good, where you're feeling good about life, and everything above it is a positive magnetic field of energy that affects your body, and it is actually kind of a way of saying that you're in the flow of God consciousness, okay? And it says that, we're to be seeking the things of the spirit, which is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, all of that stuff. All of these above that yellow line are all of that, okay? And more. It's really joy, really reverence and serenity, and complete feeling of completeness, mercy, harmonious, hopeful, inspiring, optimistic. You have intention about life. You have revelation about things. You have release. You have trust, neutrality. You're just a different kind of living person. But when we're hanging out with these down below, demanding, this is kind of on the higher part of the lower part. The very bottom is shame, despising, miserable, humiliation, And then it kind of starts getting better where you're up into the 30s, which is now guilt. 30, so 20 is shame, 30 is guilt, 50 is apathy. Even at apathy, your body is really going downhill fast, because it's all connected to the body as well. Our body's responding to these emotions. Then we get on up into actually a higher vibration of beingness, which is still in that lower magnetic field, which is drawing negative. It's causing our bodies to go negative, to go weak, and to not be strong and to become sick. All these emotions down below that 200 line of integrity or courage is going to make our bodies go weak. We're not acting in a God sense, in a God realm, in a God field. We're not flowing with God, okay? So we've got to somehow rise above it. But when we're talking about the world in a resentful, angry, bitter, this is all the words down here, way, then we're living without knowing it in this lower conscious way of being in the world, which is hurting everybody, everything. You guys know that Isaru Emoto, that doctor who did that water experiments where you put the words love and hate. We talked about this just the other day. But even being around each other with this negative thoughts and feelings, these feelings are powerful. Hate is a powerful field. Hate is actually at 150 along with anger. So it's a higher than some of these other lower ones of guilt and shame. That's way low down on the scale. But how many of us in religion are in guilt and shame?
Yeah, that's the teaching. And
It is.
pride. And pride. We're better than everybody else.
Yeah. And resentment, disappointment. Pride is at 150, and vengeful is at 150. Aggression. Anyway, we don't want that. We want to at least be at 200, which is empowerment, affirmation, courage, you're permitting, you permit other people's to make mistakes, for example. We want to be in these higher modes. Now, a lot of us will even go up into the joy and then back down in a given day. We'll be up and down this whole scale. So we don't usually just hang down here. We can jump up in a given day up into these higher realms of being and then back down again. But the more we can live in those upper 200 and above, which is the line of integrity, they call it, and the courage, the better our bodies are going to feel, and the better that we're starting to feel about the world. Because see, when we start to feel feelings of permitting, so that alone, that's right at 200, being permitting others to make mistakes, permitting others to be wrong, permitting others to be weak, to be in ways we don't want to see them being towards us, doing things to us that we don't like, even the government. So we're hating the world, see? We're hating the people in the world because they're doing these things like lying and hating and just doing these things we don't like. And so we're mad. And so we live in this grief and apathy and despondency and anxiety and regret and craving, wishing we had more, and all these feelings that are the world. It's the world, guys. It's the way we don't want to be. We all know we shouldn't be in those realms. We know that we should be in peace and love and joy and patience towards one another, right? We do, we know it, but we tend to fall naturally into the way we were taught, which is that the world and everyone in it is bad and they deserve to go to, I'm not going to say it, okay, but we are trained to think this way. We cannot continue to think this way if we want to live in the God realm. And in the God, in the spirit is what the Christians, we call it, is in the spirit. And so how we can do that is we have to begin to change our mind.
Yes.
You want to say a little bit of something?
Yeah, because we want to move into higher consciousness, because really it's lower consciousness and higher consciousness. And some people get offended when you show them this. They're like, you're judging me. It's not judging you. If you're angry 90% of the time, then you would be considered an angry person. Or if you're sad, if you always say, oh, it's so sad, it's so sad, it's so sad, life is sad, then you're operating from sadness. Or victim, right? Victim is always talking about his story. And those things make you sick. Like Angela said, on the kinesiology scale, your arm actually goes weak. You could push it down. They say resist. And if you're up above 200, you go strong.
And they,
If you're below 200, if you're a victim, your arm will just drop. You have no muscle to hold it, which means it's making yourself sick, and you're also making other people sick around
right,
you. I don't know if you've ever been around a victim or an angry person. If you're around a person that's just angry all the time,
or resentful, just really, really bitter.
yeah,
It,
you're uncomfortable. You're like, ooh, you're a little scared. You're a little, like this. And so, like Angela said, we got to get out of these places. We've got to get
right.
out of them. They call them attractor fields,
Mhm.
which are fields of energy. Like Angela said, they're like magnetic fields.
They
And
are,
so
they've
we can
proven
be
in
stuck in them
science.
our whole life. I don't know if you know
Mhm.
anybody who's been a victim their whole life. They just keep telling their story over and over and over, or they're angry, they're just in fights all the
Right,
time, or
right. Yeah.
grief, they're sad, or you go in their house and there's this heaviness over them. That's not no good for them, and it's not no good for us.
No, and here's the thing, guys. I mean, I am not perfect in here, not by any means. I still have when people do things to me that are unfair, or they're manipulative, or they're lying, or they're faking me out, or they're tricking me, or they're betraying me somehow. Does this not happen all the time in life anymore, guys? But see, then I tend to say that I don't like that world, and I feel nervous. I don't want to trust it. I don't want to open to my goodness. I don't want to be like a little child. I don't. I just want to close down and stay hidden, and I want to point the finger and say, you betrayed me in my heart. And I want to be angry with them and bitter and resentful. I'm just being honest. I'm still learning how to not be that way. I'm having to come to a place where I say, Lord, I surrender that emotion and that feeling, because the thing is that they're doing the best they can. And look, the Bible says we're all on a prodigal. I believe that the Bible is letting us know that we're all on a prodigal son journey. We all are allowed to go down this crazy road of doing whatever we want. And when we're tired of it, we begin our trek back home. Or maybe we even start trek back home and then we run back to the craziness because it was too much fun and we just are really not quite ready to go home. And we play the field a little bit. And then finally we're trekking back home. I'm on my trek back home. That's how I see it. And God only knows what could change that. Tragedy can change it. Bad things that happen, you can change it, where you go back the other way again. You're bitter, you're angry with God, and all of that. But I'm having to say no to this way of being where I'm doing the thing that I was taught in my religion, which is to dislike people
Judge
who
them.
do and judge people. Yeah, judgment towards people that do anything to me or towards me that is not right. Well, guess what? It says that, first of all, it says that we should forgive others so that we can be forgiven, is what it says in the Bible. So if I'm holding something against you, truth be told, I'm holding something against me, because we are all connected. So I'm hurting myself by hurting you. So I need to grace people. I need to understand that if they could do it better, they would, because people are ignorant. They're also fearful. There's reasons why people are not able to live their best life. And I have been, look, have you not been in a bad place yet? Like I said earlier, you will be if you're not sometime, because life is full of ups and downs and pitfalls, and we're meant to have them. So when you're in your worst place, like, don't you think many of us can say, yeah, I remember when I was really a piece of, you know what? I really was, oh my God, I'm embarrassed to even think about that I did that or acted like that and I lived that way, or I was mentally ill or whatever it was. I'm ashamed, right? And so if we can't grace them, then look, it's kind of like we're not even gracing ourselves that we ever lived in that place. But God knows, I know that I was once like that. So how can I judge them? If I was once like them, or even if I'm doing something similar to what they're doing to someone else, then that's not fair. It isn't. It's not fair. And we just got to learn how to grace each other, and know that if people could do better, they would. We get caught into things. Just Dan and I, we watched some movies lately, like Los Miserables. I say it
Yeah,
wrong.
something like that.
Yeah, but
Los Miserables
and
or something.
so it was all kind of where they were having the French Revolution, and it's just this town where all that was going on. And it was just crazy to see this one guy who was like the head British leader of the army kind of guy who was just causing all kinds of trouble for the main character in there and just chasing him down because he did something wrong. But he was always walking on top of the building, like which was a real high building where there was no edge to protect you on this building. He just put his feet on the edge, like he was right ready to just drop off and kill himself because he's serving the Queen in the British crown and doing their bidding, but knowing full well in his heart that he was just as bad as the man that he was being mean to and judging. And he was always judging him as needing to go to hell, or basically, he needs to be judged. He needs to have judgment against him because of this thing that he did. But then he made it known that I was once as poor and as wretched as you were. So we knew that, but yet he's trying to cover it up and just do his job. Right. And as we saw that in Hitler, same thing. People became where they would do anything just to keep safe, just to have their home, just to have a job, just to have the money. They would do anything. So is that not ignorance? It's also fear. It's not wanting to have your family killed. It's not wanting to go hungry. It's I'll do anything to have my needs met. But this is not God's way. And God would have us to say that you bless those that curse you and speak all manner of evil against you. You bless them and don't curse them. Well, when we're speaking against them, guess what? We're accidentally cursing them. We're like when you speak negative words towards rice, these two rice experiments that we talked about the other day. One rice was put the word love on it, the other had the word hate on it, and love was spoken to the one jar of rice every day. The other one, hate was spoken to it. It turned black, the one that had the word hate said to it and the word on it. The other was kept beautiful and clean and fresh, like brand new rice. And 10 days later, the one was black. It was gross. And so we're hurting each other and cursing each other with words and thoughts, not just words, but thoughts. So I'm having to really come to grips with I've got to let people off the hook because I've so long time been a part of the way that I was taught in my church, and that's that everybody else in the world is bad and the world is bad and it's going to hell and that God's going to punish it any day. And I'm telling you, this is really not the way it is, because as we said yesterday, God loves the kids that he created. I came from him. I'm a ray of him. I know that my dad loves me and he's rooting for me and he believes in me. Like we need to be believing for our brothers who are struggling to meet them the higher end of this scale. They're struggling right now. Why? Maybe because they don't have a frick enough money. How about if they're not making it? How about if they're starving, they're only getting one meal a day?
Just got divorced, a kid died.
Yeah, lost their job, sick, got cancer, having to work as well, otherwise the family dies or they won't survive. I mean, you guys, there's reasons why people act out. And so we're going to have to grace them. And do you want to say a little bit more about this?
No, that's exactly right. And we got to remember, we've all hung out here. We've all been down here at different times in our life. And like Angela said, we may circle down there. But what I want to say about this card here is this is not a report card.
No.
This is an awareness card.
Right.
Absolutely. If we look at it, I would think that like a therapist would use this, like he'd be in his office and somebody would start telling him about their circumstances and he'd kind of glance down maybe and see kind of where they're hanging out. Or he'd say, well, that person's condemning or their hopelessness or whatever, and he'd make some notes and he'd say, wow, they're hanging out there. And maybe he'd give them something to bring him up in consciousness just a little bit,
Right, right.
But this is no way a judgment card. This is just where we're at. And hopefully we can get hanging out up above 200 where our bodies get strong and we start feeling good inside of our bodies, inside of our minds.
Yeah.
And then we pass that on to other people. It's whether if we're negative, we pass that on. If we're positive, we pass that on. So the upper part of the scale, there's a lot of good energy, alchemy energy, positive, strong energy for creating, for a life to live really, really beautiful. When you're living here, life is beautiful.
Yeah,
life is wonderful.
So joy is up at that 500. Love is 500.
Harmonious,
joy is 540.
hopeful, willing, accepting.
Peace is 600. Is that right? 600, yeah.
Mhm.
And being aware of yourself and really being in touch with yourself. self-awareness and pure, being more in a pure state of thinking where you're thinking like God would think, and it. Then you're actually up into the 700s.
Forgiveness, intention, optimism, willingness, hopeful, inspiring, merciful. These are all places we want to be.
Yeah.
And like we said, Angela said, like she said, she's not judging anybody. She's just saying,
know.
man, I want to live there.
I do, I do.
And this can be what our house is that we live in.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to live in. But, Dr. Hawkins talks about how to transcend these levels of consciousness. All these are different levels of consciousness. This is a level of consciousness. This is a level of consciousness. All these are levels of consciousness.
And no one lives in, usually people don't live in just one part all day long. We just don't. We do get up into having moments of joy or love, or, we're up and down on the scale most of the time, most of us guys. So it's not like, usually no one's living down here in anger all day long, all day, every single day, all day long. If they are, though, they won't live long.
That would be very toxic.
Yeah, very toxic to your body. Apathy.
And the people around them.
Oh yeah, you cannot survive long. Your body will get on sick, and you won't live very long. They say that if you live in apathy very long, you won't live very long at all. So we've got to get out of these modes and just try really hard. You guys, having been raised in these dysfunctional religions that have a lot of judgment towards the world and towards the universe and God, and afraid of God, and all these crazy things going on in our heads about the world and the universe and God and angels and demons. We're scared of demons, and we're so scared of everything on the outside of there. The only place we feel safe is in our church with our group. No. We can't be that way anymore. Now that we're out of our religions and we're out of there, we've got to begin to be willing to see things differently and to begin to try hard to not see everybody as bad out there. Look at the
Especially as
good.
parents too.
Right.
Because parents, like we're in our 60s, and our kids are in their 20s. So we've been around 40, 45 years more, not 1 or 2 years, 40 years. So we've got to have empathy and compassion on those who aren't there yet, who
Right.
are hanging out in these other places,
And here's the thing too, is in a given day, there's the opportunities to think. You've got time on your hands, and you can think either I choose to think about this positive thing over here, or I'm going to choose to think about this negative thing over here. We get to choose all the time. And so all we got to say to ourselves is, I'm going to try to really, really focus on thinking about the positive things that are going on in this world. Like, look at this picture behind me. We just walked this just the other day. It looked just like this, exactly identical. It's not the same day, but this was a year ago before that. But it's beautiful. And there's wonderful birds in those trees, big ones. You can't see them in the picture, but it's just beautiful. So I can focus on that. I can make an excursion after work and go to this lake, walk around it, and just enjoy and thank God and be nice to the people and smile at them, strangers that I don't even know. Enjoy people playing with their dog and watching the ducks and how they do and how they live and how they clean themselves and how they eat and all the things, and just be so grateful and so thankful. Or I can just go straight home and complain and moan and groan and turn on the TV and listen to all the bad news. See how the choices? And so we've got to choose more often in a way that's going to help us keep in these higher vibrations, these higher ways of living and thinking and being, so that we can get happier and healthier and live the life that we're meant to live instead of the way we were taught in our religions. So that's all I want to say. And so now I got off my chest because I'm trying to live this too, guys. That's why I didn't want to do the video today, is because I'm not here where I need to be. I'm just being honest with you. I still am stuck in the cringing at people who reject me and betray me and trick me, and I get real wiki-wahini about that's my special word about that, and I hate it so much. But it's like I gotta just say no. They're doing the best they can. Mercy, grace, understand. Just let it be. Just sit with it. Be okay with it. Why do I have to get so emotionally involved in it? I don't. I can detach myself.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
So anyway, that's it, guys. If you got nothing more to say,
I think
Dan,
you're good. I think you covered it real good.
okay, so guys,
That's the goal line, and that's where we're all working towards. And like Angela said, that's what it means to come home come home to that consciousness, that home to union, that home to we're all one, you know, and then life becomes real beautiful.
It does. So you guys, I'm an Empower Her life coach. If you would like to have any coaching of any kind to try to get into a more positive lifestyle, to have more, be more, do more as a woman, or you're stuck and you don't have your voice, I'm going to help empower you to get your voice, speak up for yourself, say what needs to be said, find that joy, find how to get into the joy, just get more ideas on how to, whatever. If I can help you in some way, just go to Angela's inspirations@gmail.com and just send me a little email and I'll get right back to you and we can get you some scheduled appointment. And Dan is going to announce soon. What's yours called, Dan?
Intuitive breakthrough coach.
That's right.
So I help people transcend, limiting beliefs, being stuck in their finances, in their, where they're wanting to go in life, and how to reach those places they want to get to.
Yeah, and if you know anything about David R. Hawkins, Dan is the ultimate expert. I tell you what, he knows so much about all David Hawkins' work, and he's got just so many of his books are worn out. He studied it so much. So if you're interested in talking to Dan about some of those books or some of the knowledge that you want to go deeper with and chat over it, he would be great for that too, just to let you know. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this. And by the way, on Sundays at 10 o'clock in the morning, we have a Patreon group where we talk about just the spiritual discoveries. So this week we're going to be talking about David Hawkins's work for the first time, where we just kind of share some of the things that that he put out there into the world and just kind of introduce that whole thing that he did on his work. He died about 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think
Four,
so.
4 years ago. Anyway, great guy. So anyway, have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All
Over
right.
and out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.